everybody, and a very warm welcome. So we're switching things up now. We got a fantastic hour featuring the most incredible stamps. I mean, truly beautiful. We got brand new stamps for you from Katkins, and we've also got the wonderful Lou Sims here as well. Lou, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine.
I have to say, Lou is prolific in her makes. Even like just your free time here, you non-stop. You love crafting.
Yeah, I do.
Trying different techniques.
Oh, you've got to try. Yeah, you've got to try different techniques. Just have a go, see what works. So I thought what we'd do is we're going to actually split it up to show how you can use both the images. You know, use the images together, or we can actually use them individually, because I think it's a lovely, lovely set to go for. And what I want to do is I want to take this. I think he's so handsome. You know, it's very
majestic reindeer.
It is, and I love all the fact that you've got all these little sparkly stars all around the actual antlers. But what is also really, really nice that within the same stamp set, you actually get them as individuals. So now you can create and make that starry background go even further.
Nice.
I like to build a scene. Now, I'm working on a, I wanted to also show that, you know, you don't have to always make a big card. So this is like an A5 piece, and I'm working on watercolour card. Okay. So we've got our image there.
That's pretty, Lou.
Isn't it? It's just...
Just there, before we've done anything else, because I know we've seen some beautifully coloured inspirations here, but if you feel a bit intimidated, if you're not quite colourist yet, just there, and you know what, you could do a nice inky background, stamp on, done.
But if, yeah, and you've made a good point there. If I had chosen, I'm using obviously a permanent ink, but if I'd have used something like was a dye-based ink pad, you know, like where you see us pull the colour out, and you could have actually had it quite vintage.
Oh yeah.
You know, completely change it in a different way again.
Now, this is Lou's demonstrating as well. The joy of Katkins is it gives so many elements to enrich your image. You're building up your own composition.
I'm building up, and I'm now taking elements from actually the owl set, and they've got these most beautiful furs, fern coat. So I thought, what would be nice? He's got these wonderful commanding antlers. It's full of decorations, so let's actually make the decoration, you know, become part of it a little bit more.
Behind.
Yeah,
that's
completely.
Beautiful.
You have actually got the stamp on here that's got the star.
I
could carry on, and I could have stamped that 2 or 3 times and made a garland that way with it.
It's like the shooting star there.
It is, isn't it? It's absolutely beautiful. Now, what I wanted to do is I want to bring in... I'm loving the sentiments from each of the different stamp sets, and I love the way that they all cross over. So I want to grab the Yuletide one.
Yes.
Okay, and what I want to do, I'm going to put this in first because I just want to have this placement for the next part. And I'm just going to place it so I can put it about there. And I'm just going to let it sit there on there. And I've got the, I love it, it's nice, clean,
Yuletide, yeah.
easy font, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
And then taking from the stag, I'm going to take some of the antlers because, as I said, so we can decorate him up. And I want to build up a few little bits and pieces.
So this is a bauble from our stag option?
Yeah. So I'm just...
Sorry, it's called antlers.
Antlers,
it's called antlers, yeah.
So I want to actually just do...
Beautiful. I mean, they are beautiful, very traditional sort of Victorian baubles.
They are, but also you've got ones that have already got decoration in. So if you like to stamp and emboss with your embossing powders, that could be your colour straight away. If you like, you know, to add your colour in, and they're nice enough shapes as well if you stamp onto coloured card or paper and paper piece. So all I'm doing is I just want to add in a few little bits, and I've missed some ink off on that, but that's fine. You know, when you go, that's fine, we can make. So we've got that there, and then there is just one little mouse I've got to add him on. He's also from Antlers.
The cheeky chappy.
The cheeky chappy with the little tail. And I want to put him so he's sitting, looking up along that part there. So
he's holding up the star.
So he's holding up the star. But in the same breadth, in the same stamp set that we've got, you know, that comes from here, we could add in the robin. We've got a beautiful bow. And just to add 1 or 2 more bits onto this, because I want to do it... You could keep building these scenes up, but we've got this stamp.
Well, here's the true joy. Oh, that's nice. So he's putting the stars in the sky.
Yeah, so we've got that stamp that came around here. So now what I can do is I can just extend a little bit more here. And we can bring out this. So however much I struggle with knowing when to stop sometimes. You know, when you just go, That's plenty. My head's going, no, no, stop, 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 stop. But the rest of me is going, no, add that on. No, add that on. Right, so we've got built up our scene along those lines there. And what I want to do is just quickly add a little bit of colour.
Margaret's had a great idea. She said, dear Lou, you could have the stag or the reindeer looking down at a robin on a branch. Lovely stamps. That'd be a nice composition.
That would be, actually, wouldn't it? Because you could change it completely how it looks.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Margaret, for that idea. I like that. Just before you start colouring, and we are going to use the ink kit, Nathan, buddy, is there any way we can get in a little bit closer? Because I'd love the audience at home. Look at the detail, and it's something I found myself really getting in close and looking at the detail of the stamps. That is what makes Katkin so special. This wonderful ivy that's just trellising around the neck. You've got those beautiful, majestic antlers, and this is the scene builder. This is where there's so much fun coming in. The detail that you've got on the ferns, the beautiful baubles that we had, the characters within the mouse, who's now placing the stars up into the sky. If I just scoot that across, you able to see. You know, lovely, lovely, lovely images. Lovely images. Okay, thank you, Lou.
No,
so we're going to get onto the ink kit, which...
I'm just going to do one quick thing,
okay,
but I'll do the ink. But all I want to do now is I'm just going to take my stamping block, and I've got a micron pen. And I'm deliberately going to do this so that it's not straight. So don't give yourself any pressure if you're going to frame something that it's actually got to be straight. If you do your lines deliberately off-centre, then you take a little bit of pressure away from yourself. Right. So I just want to hang those baubles coming down.
What makes inks so special, Lou?
I think for me, it's the intensity of colours. It means I can watercolour with them precisely, or I can create wild backgrounds. And I love that.
Very clever delivery system too.
It is. So when we open up the bottles, so you've got the little button at the top there, and inside you've got your pipette. Yeah. I've already filled mine, but you press the button and it will just suck up that. Yeah. Now I'm going to actually create my own colour because I want to actually watercolour with these. So I'm going to use a little bit of.
And you literally use a drop.
Oh. Yeah.
That's it.
Totally, and I'm going to go for. I'm just going to use a little bit of the green there
so these are going to
with
last
the orange.
a very long time.
Completely. Yeah. I'm going to be really good as well and put the lid on. Okay. So I'm just going to make myself a brown. I want to make myself a little bit of a brown colour.
The intensity of they're more like a food dye in the sense, obviously I
know exactly what you mean,
they're not for food, but you know when you look at a food dye and you're struggling to see what the colour is until you use it because it's so intense, the colour in there, that's what I'm seeing with the ink kit.
So I've made myself a brown.
That's a beautiful brown. What did you use?
The orange and the green together. So if you wanted more of a red brown, add a little bit one of the reds to it. And all I'm going to do, we were talking about using the lines, and I am just literally going where the line art is. Okay. And I'm just going to drag that a little bit down and make his body extend his body just a little bit. And I'm just going to let the inks do their thing. And same here, I'm using where we've got all that beautiful artwork done for us, that is where I'm going to put the colour of the ink. And I'm going to leave the other areas clear. I'm a great believer in, if you don't have to put white lines in, use the colours you've got, use the dark bits there and blend out just a little bit more. Yeah. And I'm just going to, and I'm not going to colour, I'm tapping. I'm just going to let them all do.
Oh, this is nice.
And we're just going to build it up from there. And then I'm just going to grab it. And very the same with the antlers. And we're just going to carry on building. And all I've done is put a little bit of the colour I've mixed up. And I'm just going to keep them slightly lighter and build it.
What you're doing now is you are truly bringing that image to life in a very accessible way, because I feel what the technique you're showing now, all crafters, whether you're just starting your crafting journey or experienced crafter, we can all have a go at this.
Oh, completely. And it's all like I said, all I'm doing is colouring where the lines are, and because we've got all that beautiful work from Natasha, so might as well.
It's so nice watching Lou work with the ink kit, and she is just taking, literally, you're just popping one drop.
One drop
onto, wow, and this is from one drop. Look how much it's stretching.
And
you barely touched the drop. I'm still looking at it.
I know. I'm using the small paintbrush as well. Yeah. But also, I'm working on dry rather than wet. If I worked on wet watercolour card, obviously it would bleed out a bit more, but you would get a slightly lighter colour. So I'm just going to do there, and then
intensity.
on here, all I'm going to do, I'm not even going to colour these in properly. I'm just going to...
Nice.
And, you know, we carry on building and building and building. Now, so we'd carry on building and I'd carry on colouring from there. Obviously, I have got one done so I can do the next stage. Yep. So we've got so we carry on building. So this colour here, I've changed the colour slightly. Instead of doing, I've added the red in. So like I was saying to you about adding the red in and changing it. So we've now got all of those pieces in. And what I wanted to do was bring in the actual, make my background now. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to use, well, a clean water brush would be a good idea, but that doesn't matter, we'll blend it out. Nothing's ever wrong. So now I've got a dirty paintbrush, but that's fine. And now what I want to do is I'm just going to actually drop.
So now, would this be classed as a wet in wet technique?
Yes, it would be, but I'm because obviously I've got to put a wet background there, and I'm just going to drop a little bit of the colour. So this is our mica sparkle powder. Yeah. So what I've done in my palette there is Stardust. Sorry. So what I've done in my palette is I put a little bit with a little bit of water. So now I can create a separate bit there, and I can make it go even further than that way. So let's go and grab a cleaner paintbrush this time. And what I want to do is I'm letting this do its thing, and I just going to add a tiniest little bit of water. And I'm just going to let it spread out. And I'm just going to bring these through. Sorry if my paintbrush gets in the way. I did add another mouse on this one.
Okay.
And I'm going to add, and I'm not going to colour. I think it's nice sometimes. I don't want to use the word naive, but I think it's nice sometimes if we don't put the pressure on ourselves. And we just, you know, we've got watercolour inks and, you know, just let them do their thing. Yeah,
that's right.
So we're just going to, and all I'm doing is, like I said, just letting it do its thing. Where I had the water there before, I just want to add a little bit of yellow. Now, if that's a little bit too intense for you, I want to grab that anyhow. You could just take a piece of towel and you can blot away and suddenly it changes it, and how it changes it again. So keep these.
The space above, you could always put the, I'm just thinking, because we mentioned the midnight, can you imagine that on the top to see the sky changing?
Oh, I can put a little bit of midnight on in a minute then, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, we
I wasn't, sorry, I wasn't
No, go for it, no, go for it.
Just thought it'd be nice.
So where I took that, the beautiful mica, which is the gold one, I'm just, because this is now wet, I'm just dropping it in and letting it now. So like now it's so it's going to create, once it's dry, that's a brilliant description actually, fizzing. So I'm just going to let it go amongst all the different little bits, and
all we've done is add it to water rather.
I've just put a tiny little bit in there, added a tiny bit of water, and it's on my damp paintbrush as you can see, and I'm just letting the colour build up, and we can create, you know, our little background. We can make it extend as far as we want it to actually go. Right, I'm going to do that there, but then with the actual mica powders, I'm just going to grab a little bit and just put it on there. If you use them actually by themselves, they become quite opaque.
Oh yeah.
So I don't want to colour all the image in, but I can now go into the centre of the dots and just lift them a little bit more. Yeah. And you can add a little bit more sparkle and keep building and building and building. I'd be lost. I'm going to be lost here for ages, something. But I'm going to do something now because you suggested it. So let's just drop a little bit of the water here. And we'll just get the water to go inside. And let's find the midnight. Okay, that's the darkest one, isn't it? Right. I thought, well, you said it, so we might as well give it a go. Yeah. But what I'm going to do is, if you're worried about it going there, I'm just going to put it actually on my mat, a little bit on my mat.
Ah, okay. This gives you a little bit more control.
Gives me a little bit more control, and then I can, so I can then pick it up.
That's a very good tip. That's a beautiful colour.
So you can then change your background. I wouldn't waste this now in a minute, and that would go in a journal page sort of thing. But we can now, if we just add a little bit of water.
So you see that midnight sky starting to take over. The night sky draws in.
Yeah, so the night sky draws in. And once it's dry, you could go back in with the actual mica powders and pick out all the different star elements. Beautiful. So for speed, let's just quickly just clean that away. Okay. Like I said, I I wouldn't have wasted that. That would have been.
You would have mopped up.
I would.
I
But
think a bit there.
oh, thank you. But I'm just going to knock a little bit and add a little bit of texture, just using the towel.
Good thing to do.
Because you're adding, because some of our towels actually have patterns on them. So that's like bringing, so now we've got that actual dark shadow going straight away.
Love that.
And, you know, we could have left it deep, dark and intense, or we carry on, you know, from there. So I would carry on building and building and building and building. I like to leave mine dry naturally, and then I would you know, I work on 2 projects at the same time. So let yours dry naturally. So then what I've done is, once I've let it dry naturally,
that's lovely.
all I've done is we've got these beautiful little stamps in there that have little bells and ribbons on, and I've just stamped and cut them out, and I've added them where the gaps are, and where I've got these overlying pieces here, I've just added them there just to tidy up the different elements. But I went back in again and went back round all of those little stars with the actual mica, so I could create that, you know, that subtle little shine, little wiggle. I'll give it to you because you can do that much
better. I'll pick that up and show everyone. If that's all right, can I pick that up, guys?
Yeah, go for it. Oh, sorry, talking to them, not me.
Oh, well, I'm talking to both of you. Both of you. Let's have a little look, and you can see. I'll give it a wiggle for you. Look at that, and you can see that mica when it comes to life and just illuminates. Beautiful, but what an image! Lovely, lovely, lovely composition.